I'm an American standing in Moscow, Russia. Behind me is an Orthodox Church. Is Russia a Christian place?
They need more and more churches, need more and more priests as well.
Since the fall of the Soviet Union 30 years ago, Russia has built or restored 30,000 new churches.
I really love this.
And this video, I'm going to go inside one that is under construction with, believe it or not, an American priest. I'm going to find out from him what life is like in Russia.
Yeah, he has a Russian wife, so that helps him a lot.
Right.
You know.
It does help.
He does.
Welcome to Expat American. I am the Expat American. Find out what's going on in this place right now. Wow. Rolling?
Okay.
You've had a life of church planting. Russian Village Starbucks. Is this just another stop for you, or do you feel like this is where you're going to stay? These medieval looking doors, I have a question. Are they practical or stylistic? Вкусно. Вишня?
Вишня.
I started churches in California, and then I lived abroad for a while with my family, and then we moved back and moved to Washington State, and I started some churches in Washington State. And then my bishop asked me to go overseas and catechize and baptize and consecrate some churches, and so I was in the Philippines and then in Nepal and then in India. Would still be there, but except for my health, the pollution kind of got to me. I think maybe my interest in Russia started when I was an undergraduate at university. My roommate was a Russian studies major, and in the summers he would go with a group to Russia, and I got to know a couple of the professors who were in the department, and they were Russians as well. And yeah, I was intrigued and started reading about the country. And then after I made that first trip here, you know, you can't speak of America as an Orthodox country. If you're going to say there's a church on every corner, it's probably a Baptist church on every corner. You know?
Right.
And so I came here, there's a church on every corner, and it's an Orthodox church. There was a way in which I felt like I fit in. It's my church, I fit here. And whereas in the States, I always kind of felt a bit of a foreigner in terms of my faith, always trying to explain what Orthodoxy is to people who had never heard of Orthodoxy. I was fascinated by the history, I was fascinated by the churches, the monasteries, and I just kept coming back. Made friends through the years and eventually moved here. When I first came here, this is all we had, was this little wooden chapel. It's dedicated to St. Luke of Crimea, the physician. This is kind of how they start churches in Moscow. They have these prefabricated wooden churches. When they have a property, they plop down whatever design you want.
Kind of like the portable schoolhouse in America?
Yeah, and you begin here, and then as the parish grows, you build the church that you originally intended to build. So when I first came here, this was just an unfinished brick building. Wasn't even roofed at the time. So this is the main church, and it's dedicated to Saint Yermogin, who was Patriarch of Russia. If you've been in Alexander's garden in the center.
Yeah.
And there's, opposite the fountain with the horses, there's a large statue of a bishop, a patriarch there. I don't know if you've ever noticed it, but that's dedicated to Patriarch.
Yeah, he's holding a cross, right? Near the horses. It's kind of in the center of Alexander's garden.
That's it, that's the one. And that's Patriarch Yermogin, dedicated to him. So this church is dedicated to him.
So 10 years ago, this was just an empty lot, or something else was there. It was not a church grounds.
Right.
And then they put up
cleared
basically a log cabin chapel.
Yeah. Planted the trees, and the trees weren't here along the side or anything.
And then they slowly build the main hall in hopes that the attendance will grow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and they've already outgrown it. It's too small.
Really?
Unfortunately. Yeah, we need something twice as big. Okay. Father Yuan keeps saying, go down to the McDonald's and start a new church for us. Not going to happen.
Well, I've heard Russia is building churches like crazy now.
Yeah, it really is expanding.
No offense to American churches, but because you have church compounds in America. And to me, they look kind of plain and modern. And this is almost looking like, you know, it's designed to look like a village, like from 100 years ago, which is very,
it's
very,
nice.
very cute and nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I wish, that makes me think about the design of this church. Father Yuan selected the design of the church. We'll walk around it so you get a better idea of it. But it's based on an ancient design.
Were you always Orthodox
No,
believer, or you just were converted
No,
from another?
my family were Scottish Presbyterians. I didn't convert to Christianity until I went to university. I eventually went to seminary, and then I moved to Scotland with my wife to do a doctorate in theology, and I stayed there and served in the Church of Scotland for a number of years. My two oldest children were born there. I came back to California and for a while served in the Presbyterian Church, but it was so incredibly liberal. Things that were going on, I just thought, what on earth am I doing in this denomination? This is crazy. I can't even call this Christian. So I left, and in good Protestant fashion, started my own church.
Oh, okay.
And, that was in San Jose, California.
How many children do you have?
I have 3 children. 2 of them are in America. So 2 of them are in Washington State, and then my youngest son is here in Moscow, married, have a little granddaughter. I have 10 grandchildren in the States, and I have 1 granddaughter here.
Wow.
So
International family.
feel kind of divided. Yeah, it has its pluses and minuses. You know, I miss them. My 2 children, they came over for their brother's wedding, so that was nice, and one of my grandchildren came. And hopefully that they'll come back and some of the others will come as well. A traditional form where you have the bell tower at the back here, rather than set someplace in the main frame.
Oh, you said that's a tradition to put the bell tower
Well,
back?
Rather than tradition, I'd say an old tradition, I guess. It's
An older style.
Yeah.
The bell tower here. Okay.
and I like this mosaic.
It's interesting, the modern tram behind.
Yeah.
To say the modern buildings,
Little
the tram,
contrast.
and then the church.
One of my favorite spots on the church, even though it's at the back of the bell tower, just because I like this mosaic. It's St. Yermogand on the left, who is the patron of the parish, and the Theotokos, or Bogorodica, in the middle, and St. Seraphim or St. Sergius on the right, the baptismal chapel dedicated to St. Sergius.
It's a nice angle because you have the mosaic and you have the bell that you can see
Yeah.
inside, and then the different roofs.
Then you have a place like the UK, and you read about people standing on the corner reading a passage of scripture, or simply standing and praying silently, and they're arrested. Is that freedom of religion? Do they have that in England anymore? I think only if you're part of Islam, perhaps, and then only because they're afraid of you. Here, we don't even think about those kinds of things. The authorities protect the church. The authorities protect us. Often, when I come to the church on one of the major feast days, one of the major holidays, there'll be a couple of police officers or several of them. I remember how odd it seemed the first time, but now I understand that they're there to protect the people here. It's quite a change from 1917 and after the Bolshevik Revolution. So yes, of course, there's freedom of religion here. If we have a democratic authoritarianism here, it's no different than the democratic authoritarianism we have in the United States.
Right.
I don't see an awful lot of difference.
And the Orthodox Church is the cultural church in Russia, but there are different Christian denominations here, in case people don't know. And there's even other religions, not Christian.
Right. There's
that
a
are
large
practicing
population
freely.
of Muslims here in Moscow, and throughout Russia for that matter. There are Buddhist, various Protestant denominations, as you say,
Some
here
Catholic
as well.
churches even in
Catholic
Moscow.
churches, very large one, in fact, very beautiful. It doesn't feel like an authoritarian country to me. It feels like a bureaucratic country, and I feel that because as a foreigner, I've got to jump through a lot of hoops, with the bureaucracy, getting my residency permit and all that. Right. But it's no different. I have friends who were foreigners having to jump through similar hoops in the States when they were there. Every country is a bureaucratic mess for people who want to come in.
Right. So you've served all over the world as a Christian. Is this just another stop for you, or do you feel like this is where you're going to stay?
No, well, especially at my age, I think this is the last hurrah for me. I would love to go out on the mission field again, but my health just won't take it.
Okay. Do you travel back to America? I assume you do.
I've been back once. I don't know if I'll go back again. I might make one more. I have a granddaughter who may be getting married soon, and my daughter-in-law is really on me about being there for that wedding, which I would love to be there for the wedding. My big concern about leaving the country is not being able to get back in.
Do your kids come to see you?
Well, my two older children came for their brother's wedding 2 years ago, and they still have their visas and hope to come next summer. It's a long way off. We'll see. You see a work in progress.
Yeah, I love it. I love seeing the scaffolding and it being built.
What is called
Chandelier.
chandelier?
Yeah. Sly, let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah, the bells were kind of like a clock.
Yeah.
Like 100 years ago. Let
Right.
people know.
Yeah.
It's time for this or it's time for that.
Very much so. Yeah.
And I've seen some children's, what is called, scooters.
Yeah.
Like, do you have a lot of children here playing or?
Yeah. This is the Sunday school over here.
Oh.
It's kind of a fellowship hall. It's too small, but they use it for Sunday school as well. And there's some classrooms in it as well. So yeah, they have children.
Because I see.
Yeah. Yeah.
My son has it in his kindergarten. The same.
Ah,
Yeah.
very familiar sight for you then.
Yeah.
They begin ringing those bells a little bit before a service begins. So it calls the people to service
Like on Sundays usually.
all
Yeah.
through the week, any day of the
All through
week,
the week.
because there are services every day of the week.
Oh, that's great.
For example, they had a liturgy this morning at 8.
Uh-huh.
And then if it's a liturgy, at different times during the liturgy, bells will ring, but those are usually the ones you saw in the choir loft.
So we're coming out here.
During the Nicene Creed, when we recite the Nicene Creed, they'll be rung beforehand to announce, or
Oh, wow.
Practical or stylistic?
stylistic.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. It's very nice.
Same, it's
Yeah.
like the ones leading into the church here, same way, stylistic doors.
Yeah, they're beautiful. I love it. It's like a castle.
Yeah, I like it too.
Would you recommend Russia to Westerners then?
I would, with serious qualifications.
Okay, I want to hear it. This is good.
I know that for the last few years, there have been a lot of people saying to Americans and to Westerners in general, come over to Russia, come to Russia, wonderful traditional values, Christian country. The reality is, if you're going to make it here, you have to have a unique set of circumstances. Someone like myself, I'm officially retired. I have a tiny little Social Security pension, not enough to live in the States, actually, not enough to make it there to pay rent or anything, but fine for here. So if you have a pension and you're retired and come over, you would be able to afford to live here quite easily and quite well. But can you speak the language? Not everyone can get around without the language. Some people can't. My wife gets around Russia better than I do, and she doesn't speak Russian. She's an extroverted personality and has no problem going up to people and making herself understood.
Right.
And
You can access your pension living here?
yeah, with difficulty.
Okay,
You know, once they kicked Russia out of SWIFT, it became more difficult. We have either friends who come over, and they'll bring money, they'll bring our money. So you have to have a way to make a living here. And if you don't have the language, that's going to be very difficult. There's some categories, for instance, farmers, ranchers. I would say come over. It's a good opportunity here for you.
Right.
And you don't have to even worry initially about the language. Your kids are going to get the language easily enough. So if I were young, I would do it, but that's my personality. But I know of people who have come over full of idealism and they've crashed and burned. It didn't work for them. And they went back defeated and much poorer. It was a very difficult situation. They didn't do their homework in advance. So if anyone's going to come and visit for a while. I know you know this and you've heard this, but they should come and visit and find out about life here first, not just jump on the plane and pack up and
So the language barrier is the biggest thing.
Language is the biggest thing. My son, my youngest son, does not want to raise his family in America. He wants to raise his family here. And so he's here, he's married, has a new daughter, very happy with life here. I often wonder what's going to work out for him long term. At the moment, he's teaching at an international school. How long will international schools work out here?
Well, he's learning Russian, I assume.
Yeah, he has a Russian wife, so that helps him a lot.
Right.
You know.
It does help.
He does.
Yeah, I think
it doesn't guarantee it. But
right, exactly. I think the best case scenario is if you're trying to be a Christian and raise children. Seems like, I mean, I don't know of a better country right now. You know,
I agree with you. And it's remarkable. I'm not a big city person. Both my wife and I were born in small town America. And I liked to visit cities but not live in them. I love living here.
And now
in
you're,
Moscow.
me too, because I grew up in Tallahassee, Florida,
Yeah.
and now all of a sudden I'm living in Moscow, and I don't think
I wouldn't live
want
in
to
New York.
downgrade now.
I wouldn't live in Los Angeles, but Moscow, yeah.
Yeah.
It never grows old. It's fascinating. It's beautiful, the history, the culture. Eventually they'll put icons in here, mosaics.
You have some special events for Easter and other holidays?
Well,
Like,
yes, Easter
You
is the
have,
biggest
more people, right?
feast of the church. And there's so many people, they're standing outside, all out.
You can't see.
But it's beginning to get that way on a typical Sunday as well. So all of the icons tell stories, and some of them are very familiar to you. Christ calling Peter as he walks on the water, or Pentecost, the celebration of Pentecost. And you see the tongues as flames of fire upon the apostles. So it spreads to all the world. And obviously, stories from the New Testament and the life of Jesus illustrated. This opens up into a baptismal for adults.
This is so beautiful. It obviously is evoking the crown of thorns, right?
Yes, well, right now, they put this up for Pentecost. The tradition is you have greenery throughout the church. So before all that scaffolding was up, there were trees up against the columns and greenery all over. And this, before it wilted, was quite beautiful.
What was your name before the baptism? What was the name you were born with?
Everybody called me Chuck.
Chuck? Chuck?
That wasn't my legal name, but that was my nickname. Yeah. I have a family named Generations of my family members. Were all called Merton, M-E-R-T-O-N, Charles Bell.
Merton Charles Bell.
And Merton means, it's a Welsh name, means farmer by the sea. So I always thought it was appropriate. My father was a rancher, beef cattle. And anyway, my grandfather and my father, my great-grandfather, cousins, we all had the same name.
But you're originally from Scotland, right? Like your
My family is. I was born in California, yeah. But that's where the family came from. And then providentially, that's where my two older children were born, where we lived for a number of years there.
Wow.
Probably, I think, had things turned out differently, we had hoped to live there the rest of our life. And in fact, even when we moved back to the States, our intention was always to go back to Scotland. And I thank God it didn't happen. I mean, you talk about an authoritarian government. It's a sad place now.
It's so sad.
Yeah.
The West does not have to be this way. And
Yeah.
we know from living in Russia now,
Yeah.
You can have order and things can be nice.
Right. That's another thing I love, both my wife and I love about Russia, is how safe it is. She was just talking to a young girl who's coming over to visit last night on the phone, and the girl said her parents are worried about her coming here. It's a dangerous place. Human trafficking, And I just laughed. And I said, no, that's what takes place in Los Angeles, not Moscow. My wife, long after dark, walks by herself, takes the metro, and then walks home in the dark and feels completely safe. We used to live in Los Angeles, in Pasadena. It was a dangerous, dangerous place. I mean, she would come home from her job at night, take a deep breath, open the door, lock it, slam it, and run to the front door and unlock it. And that's how unsafe she felt. Here she feels so safe, and we feel safe. We don't have drive-by shootings, and of course you know all of this.
Yeah. I spent my 20s in Glendale and Burbank and North Hollywood and Hollywood, all that area.
Quite a contrast to life here. Yeah. It's a great place, whether you're here, whether you're in the city or in a small town. It's a great place to raise a family with the traditional values and a Christian atmosphere and just the safety of it all.
Right, and people know, because I'm 50, and it was my reality. This is the way the world was. Big cities were dangerous, and there was crime, and you could get killed, And so it's been that way long enough in the U.S. that Westerners just don't know that it could be different.
Right.
Especially people in the UK don't know that it could be different.
Yeah.
And I came here, I'm like, what? It's not true that it has to be bad if there's a lot of people in one place.
Yeah, that's a good point.
С корицей. Подождите, есть, но они не сегодняшние.
So I've noticed a lot of Orthodox churches in Russia, they have a little food stand.
The dairy products come from the monastery, and the fish too, for that matter.
Ah, okay. So it's made at the monastery.
Yeah.
brought here.
Yeah.
Not just milk, milk of cow.
Interesting.
Коровья.
Yeah, коровья.
So is the point of this just to make the church feel like a community, like a village, like a family, like a home?
You know, it's interesting. It is that, and you don't always find that. Here in Moscow, you don't always find that. This young man and his wife who live across the way, they've just discovered this church. They've lived in different places in the area. It's the first time they've come here. And he was commenting yesterday about how readily friendly this is, that this parish is. They're like family and friends. They greet you that way. And it's not just me, but he found it that way. And that's how it was for me. The first time I came, I went into this little church. It was Vespers, the evening service. And Father Samuel was doing the censing, and he saw me, got a little puzzled, and he went back in the altar and he told Father Ioan, the rector, there's a priest here. Father Ioan's like you, he's this big guy, and he comes charging out, a big smile on his face, gives me a big bear hug, and it's been like that ever since. It was like I've always been here. But it's not just with me, he's that way with everybody, and he's planted that inside the people here, so it's like a family. The children are like our children, and everybody's like a brother and sister. They're so friendly. I don't know how unique it is, but it's wonderful to experience.
Well, there's usually a separate food house on the property of Orthodox churches that I've been to in Russia.
Yeah, or these a little loft, a little shop. That's pretty typical in churches as well, and you can buy.
It's like a gift shop, you could say.
Yeah, they'll go in the morning before service and buy candles that they light in the service. Or I haven't been in a long time, so I don't know if they still have.
Inside?
Yeah, sure we can. Yeah, many Starbucks.
Look at that, so nice.
Nice, beautiful.
Beautiful. Спасибо, девушка.
Пожалуйста.
Let's go ahead and try it.
О, спасибо. Что это?
И девушка.
Попробуй. Спасибо большое. Нам одного хватит. Спасибо.
This is Russian bread.
Yeah.
It's like a bread.
It probably has a filling.
Батюшка будет?
Probably has a filling.
Батюшка будет? Do you want some?
Нет, спасибо. Я уже купил.
Tila, you want to try it or you want me to try it?
Try it.
Cherry
Тут
filling?
печенье где-то?
Да, своя.
Вишня.
Вкусно. Вишни?
Вишня.
Вишня.
Спасибо.
Спасибо.
Хорошего вам дня.
Have a small little gift shop in
Oh,
here.
there's more. So people can buy there. All sorts of religious things to worship. It's like a library?
No, for sale.
Oh, okay. It looks fine.
So
Books, it's for
Bibles or
children,
gospel books.
else.
There's a service going on. They don't
The
Yeah.
Bible for the kids.
Yeah, it's always online.
All right, now it is your turn to join the conversation. Leave a comment. Let us know what you think of this situation. Let us know what you think of Russia. Let us know what you think of Christianity in Russia. Also, like, subscribe, interrupt my speech, click the share button right now, send this video to your friends, and click the box to see what happens next.
Unfortunately, when our government decided that they needed to take on Russia, their game plan was to use Ukraine to do that, as Lindsey Graham likes to say, to the last Ukrainian. Is this a video or a photograph? I didn't know this.
This is a video. He wanted to have the
I see.
icons
Yeah,
behind
okay.
us. Rolling? Okay, cool. All right, we'll do what we can. If it's too noisy, we'll go somewhere else.
Reminds me when Tucker Carlson asked Putin a question, he went on forever.
right.
He might have stepped into that.
That means that it's tricky.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went up into a bell tower in it's where they filmed that Soviet comedy about time travel with Ivan Grozny. Ivan Grozny changed professions, so we went into that. Yeah, it's in that playlist, but it's in the Rostov-on-Don, I think, area. Rostov-on-Don.
Have you seen the movie Russia House? With
I
Sean
did,
Connery?
yeah.
You know, they go up into the bell tower, but that's at the
I
Lavra,
forgot that
Sergei Posad.
Yeah, I should see that again now that I'm living here. I'm wondering
Right.
what I would think of it.
That's what I did. I went back after I got here. So,
And how was it?
oh, I liked it. It was a great,
Yeah?
great
Okay,
movie.
cool. So it's not like offensive.
I had different eyes then. I was looking.
Yes.
Do I know where they are? Trying to figure it out.
Yeah, Sean Connery did a movie called Rush House, which is based off a book. When our government, you mean the U.S.
American
government, because people might get confused
Oh,
as to
sorry.
who we are.
Sorry,
Because a lot of people are like, they're like, just Russian now.
Right.
Okay, so we're talking about the U.S.
the U.S. government, right?
My
US,
wife is thinking, oh no, we're talking to a liberal.
just confused. What's he talking about?